Hey guys, Meteorologist Chris Tomer here with this Sunday mountain weather update. I want to go back to Revelstoke because it just kept snowing. I showed you this same camera yesterday morning and the gnome was completely buried and about a foot of snow, and it kept snowing. Snowed like another 8 inches up there, and so we're working on like 2 feet, 20 to 24 inch, 48-hour totals up there. So it's another big powder day up in the parts of BC. Certainly that's the case up at Revelstoke. All right, let me show you the other side of the coin. This is the Northeast, and 3 to 5 overnight up at Jay Peak in northern Vermont. They're working on, also similar to Revelstoke, almost 2 feet in the last 48 hours. Look at their season total, almost the century mark up there at Jay Peak. So a really good start to the season for Jay Peak. And there's some additional snow in my forecast, although it gets a little bit interesting. I'll talk about that in a second. But here goes this clipper. Some light wraparound here on radar of snow through parts of the Northeast. Certainly that's the case up in Maine, northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire. That'll eventually be moving away, and then the pattern's going to shift a little bit. Over to the west on radar, can see some of the lingering snow through parts of BC and also rain snow into parts of Washington. What's happening here is a cold front is getting sent to the south into the lower 48. So we will see some snow develop, some light accumulations this afternoon, tonight, and tomorrow across Wyoming, across Utah, and across Colorado as this cold front dives on through. Let me give you the lay of the land. So this is water vapor satellite imagery. And on this, your moisture aloft is going to be in the whites and the blues. And there's our storm system. There's the front that's diving down. Another storm system behind it, although that's going to head up to mainly Alaska and Canada. But eventually, down the road, all this action out here, this big trough out here with jet support, will eventually work its way towards California and develop into a little more active pattern on or after 1214. So that's something to look forward to down the road, but it's a bit of a waiting game, obviously. Here are my bullet points. So in the Northeast, you've got a clipper today, then a coastal system is going to set up. The problem with that, and potentially the one behind it as well, is going to be your precipitation type. It may start as rain and go to snow, and maybe even start as snow and go to rain. And so that's the issue, I think, going forward in the Northeast, even at the ski areas. Now, out west, you've got the cold front coming in late 12/8 and 12/9 with some light snow accumulations. And then, like I said, maybe a more active pattern, 12/14 through about 12/20. Here's my snow timeline, best odds of snow for the Wasatch, Tetons, Colorado, Tahoe, interior BC, and the Northeast. I won't go through all these, but at least you'll notice here there are 2 to 3 different shots of snow for each of these ranges coming up. For example, in the Wasatch, light snow 12/9, late 12/8, early 12/9, light on 12/15, then potentially moderate to heavy 12/17 as the pattern turns more active out in that area. And notice I did show for the Northeast that potential of rain and snow coming in, and that's on the 11th. So and there may be an issue before that as well with the earlier storm system. So all that is yet to be seen. Let me take you back to the west. I want to go to Alta and look at the forecast mediogram here for Alta. And this is at about 9,000 feet. So very representative of Little Cottonwood for Snowbird and Alta here. Notice down in the snow column here, and this is December 8th. There's Monday the 9th. There's 10th. There's early the 11th. And the snow column, it's all under an inch. This has been the case for the last 2.5 days that I've done these updates. The totals for even Alta and Snowbird are under an inch with this front that comes in late tonight and early tomorrow. Highs yesterday, were in the 30s up there at 9,000. Today they're going to be in the 20s, and tomorrow they're going to be in the teens. So it does turn colder. Some of the wind gusts this afternoon out ahead of this front, about 30, 35 miles per hour potentially at times. So again, that's Alta. Okay, let's go with Loveland Ski Area. Let's make a trip into Colorado here. So the time height forecast indicates a forecast of relative humidity or humidity values, moisture in the atmosphere to some degree. So you're looking at a slice of all the vertical layers of the atmosphere for Loveland Ski Area up on the Continental Divide for the next 72 to 80 hours. Your timeline's at the bottom, and you read that from right to left. And notice it's all dry early, but then by the time we get into, say, late on the 8th and early on the 9th, maybe even early on the 10th, the moisture stays, it's there, it's present, up to about 14,000 feet in Colorado. And then it's a little drier as you move your way higher than that into the atmosphere. But there's enough moisture there to crank out some snowfall for Loveland and the Continental Divide and A Basin and Keystone, Winter Park, Summit County. In fact, the latest indication is for roughly 2 to 4 inches. I'd say 1 to 4 for most places in the central and northern mountains of Colorado will probably do it. So this is indicating about 3.5 for Loveland. We'll see if that plays out. Okay, jet stream forecast. So by close of business today, you can see the dip in the jet, the trough moving in from the north out of British Columbia into Montana, Wyoming, Utah, and eventually look at that build into 12.9 through Colorado. That's going to be your best shot of 1 to 4 inches. And then that moves out. And then what I'm looking for here is a more active jet pattern. And here it comes, about 12:14. Starting to see some dips in it. It's moving further to the south, so that's escorting in moisture and storm systems. There goes one. There comes another one right there on 12:16. That moves in through 12:17 and probably 12:18 as well. Here's what that looks like from the perspective of the forecast radar and satellite. So there's your action. There's your snow coming south. And there it is by early 12.9. So late 12.8, 12.9 brushes the Wasatch, the high Uintas, the Tetons, and then moves into Colorado. And then it dives down into southern Colorado where we're going to see some accumulation as well through the afternoon of 12.9. And then that storm basically moves away. Northern New Mexico will get some as well. Then we wait on the active pattern, and by the time we get into about 12:14, notice what happens. The first storm system hits the west coast, so you've got snow from BC down to the Sierra. That moves into the interior, takes kind of a central to northern track, and then a bigger storm comes in behind at 12:16 with heavier snow for the Sierra and a lot of the Cascades and the high volcanoes, and that one hits the Wasatch and the Tetons in Colorado more squarely. So that would be a better storm system. As far as totals go, here's what I'm thinking. All of today through 12:10 takes care of this first front. About 1 to 4 in Colorado, maybe a 5 inch amount down in the Cuchara area of southern Colorado. Potentially, though, light to moderate accumulations up over the Tetons with 4 to 6 inches, but 0 to 1 inch for the Wasatch, 1 to 4 through a lot of Montana and Idaho. Okay, here's the second period. The numbers are not as big as yesterday's update for the Wasatch, nor in Colorado because the storm track shifted a little bit further to the north. But things still could be pretty interesting after 12:16, 12:18, 17, 18, 19, 20 for those areas. It's just a little bit of a delay with the storm track. So you can see the numbers in California, potentially a couple of feet or more, 1 to 2 feet for the Pacific Northwest. Great numbers for interior BC, maybe another foot during this period. For Revelstoke, Red Mountain looking good. Like Schweitzer, Northwest Montana, maybe a foot for the Tetons and 5 to 8 for a lot of the Wasatch during that time period. Okay, let's go to the northeast. So the problem here is you've got a clipper moving away and then maybe a coastal event coming up with a rain snow mix. So that's going to cut into snow totals. So even though there's like 2 or 3 storms lined up, if there is a problem with precipitation types, it will cut down on totals. So thinking potentially 3 to 8 inches here through most places of Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and New York State. And that would be all of today through 12:17. Okay, we'll end on the big map for the second period across the west. Could be an active period. We'll just keep an eye on things. Any little shifts in the storm track obviously have a big impact on the grand totals. Guys, thanks for tuning in here. Appreciate it. Take care and have a great day.